good morning or evening, depending on when you're practicing. This is our 1 hour slow stretch, which I'm really excited to record this one, as it's the last time we'll be doing it in this space. We'll be upgrading our space, so watch this space, literally. Yeah, so anyway, enjoy the class. If you have any injuries, it's always best to speak to either a doctor or a yoga teacher before you practice that you're concerned about. Otherwise, this class is for all levels. So whether you're a beginner or intermediate or advanced, it should have enough for everybody. It's slow stretch, meaning that we'll hold some poses for up to 3 minutes. And so we can really feel and get into what's going on in our body as we hold these stretches. We'll have a little warm up at the beginning. If you feel pain at any time, just stop what you're doing, come out of it, rest, and start from the next pose. You can always message me to ask questions. Okay, so we're going to get started. And if you could start seated, so cross legs on your yoga mat. If you at home need a little bit of support and find it really hard cross legs, you could sit on a block or a book, depending on what you have, or a cushion, or lots of cushions. Just elevating the hips a little can make that slightly easier. But if you really struggle, you could straighten the legs out. Hands rest either in your lap, with one back of the hand resting in the palm, or on the knees or thighs with the palms down or up. Down generally symbolises grounding, so connecting to the earth and feeling strong and, yeah, that sense of stability. Otherwise, if you feel you are a little low in energy, the hands facing up can symbolise energy being received. So once you've chosen where the hands rest, allow your shoulders to soften. I've naturally closed my eyes, but if you prefer to have the eyes open, just keep them fixed on a point. So this is called a drishti, and it becomes very important throughout the class. They say if you can keep your eyes steady and fixed on one focal point, then the eyes won't move around, meaning that the mind doesn't move around. Everything is focused. So now just feel into your body. If it's the morning, it generally feels a little tighter. There'll be more sensations in the body as opposed to the evening. Perhaps there's more looseness in the joints, in the muscles. It's warmer. It's been moving all day, but it can feel lethargic. It can feel tired. So whatever you notice about how your body feels, just notice it with all, without any judgment, just complete awareness of what is. Not trying to change anything, not trying to judge it or run away from what comes up. And then once you've felt the body, had a sense of how you are feeling physically, emotionally, or perhaps mentally. And then we will start to draw the attention to your breath. So always in and out through your nose, unless you have a cold, unless you need to sigh out. Sometimes it's a good way of letting go of something that feels stuck or stagnant, especially around the throat. So in and out through your nose, noticing the expansions on your inhales and the release on your exhales. Every inhalation trying to maybe bring in more, expand and fill the belly up. Then the exhales are about drawing all that's no longer needed out. Maybe even a light squeeze of the abdominals in toward the spine. Good, and then let's start to think about movement. So take One more deep breath here, in. And one complete breath out. You're going to open the eyes when you're ready to move. And bring your right fingertips out to the right. And on the inhale, lift your left arm up. This could be enough of a stretch for you, but if you want, you can lean to that right side. Bending lightly at the right elbow, reaching over with the left fingertips. Any gaze that feels appropriate here. And then inhale, come up. Exhale, release the left hand down. And next, inhale, the left arm will follow. You could stay there or bend at the elbow and lean to your left. You're trying to keep both sit bones grounded. Keep a focus, one point. And then inhale it up. This time we're going to take that hand across. So if you bring your right hand across to your left knee and then your left hand behind. Sit tall, breathe in and turn to your left as you breathe out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Look forward, do the same on the other side. So right hand behind, left hand across. Sit tall, breathe in. To your right with your gaze as you breathe out. Deep breath in. And deep breath out. Now you're going to look forward. This time both hands are going to come in front of you. Depending on what you're on, you can either walk or slide the hands away. The most important part of this, forward fold, always, is to have your sit bones grounded down. So you'll only go as far as you can go before your bum comes off. You're trying to press it down into the earth. You can help that by pressing into the hands and pressing back. Some of you may go further, or some of you may be here. It doesn't matter. The stretch is the same. It's in the back body. Okay, and then walk over to your right side and you'll get this amazing stretch in your left. That again is enough, or if you want to, you can lift your left arm up. Very similar to what we did, but stronger. Exhale, release that left hand down, and then slide, walk, or whatever, over to your left. Head over the left knee, you'll stay there, or lift your right arm. Same as our stretch before, but just a little stronger. Release the right hand down. Walk it back to center and up to seated. Okay, and now we're going to come off our seat and onto our all fours, so hands and knees. Spread the fingers, have them underneath your shoulders, drop the tops of the feet into the floor, knees under hips. This one's called cat-cow. If you've done this before, you can move straight into it, otherwise I'll talk you through. Belly drops down as heart and gaze lifts. If you've got sensitive lower back, you can stay more neutral, but think about pressing your heart forward as much as you can. Then on the exhale, round the spine, belly in and up, and gaze to the belly. Keep that flowing, drop belly down, lift heart and gaze. And then exhale, round into cat. Really emphasize that round in the upper back as you press into the hands. Inhale, drop the belly last time. Lifting the gaze and then exhale, looking to the belly, rounding the spine, pressing into the hands. Good, and then come to neutral. Knees slightly together, or closer together, sorry, and then stretch your right leg back. Nice stretch down the right back edge, or back of your right leg. And then from there, turn the right toes to the long edge. And then take a little angle on that left leg just for stability, and then reach your right arm up. So this is a side stretch. You want to feel, again, so you want to feel as if you're pressing into that right foot. We're going to do arm circles from here. So as you exhale, reach that top arm forward and then down. As you inhale, you're going to reach the arm up to the sky. Maybe look up, and then exhale, reach it forward and down. Do one more of those. Inhale, reach it up to the sky, and then exhale, reach it forward, down, and then up. And then we'll release and do the other side. So bring the right hand down, drop the right knee down. Straighten that left leg, take a nice stretch into the back of the leg, and then take the toes to the to face the other opposite side, right leg at an angle, and then left arm up. Good. From there, taking that stretch, reach it forward, or sorry, the arm circles, and down. Inhale, forward and up. And exhale, down, forward and up, and the last one. I'm going the opposite way that we do normally, just because it's nice to change that rotation every now and then. Release that left hand down, bring both knees back to the earth. Maybe a cat stretch just to neutralize. And then we're going to go into a downward dog. So we normally stay away from most active poses, but today, because we want to warm up, let's find this upside down V, but make it gentle. To make it gentle, you bend deeply into the knees. Press the chest, your thighs. Can you feel a connection there? Can you notice that as you bend the knees, the heels become closer to the earth, possibly for some of you? Shoulders are spread, fingers are spread, you're lifting your bum in the air, even with that deep bend in the knees. This is where you get the stretch to the spine. Now look forward and creep the feet to the front of your mat. Good. So if you have about hip distance with your feet, we'll go into our first held stretch. So ragdoll. So this is probably one of my favourites because you can really let go into it, but it takes a little time to get used to it. Feet are hip distance or wider, depends on what kind of base you need for feeling stable. You bend your knees so you can rest your chest on your thighs. Some of you will want to have the hands on the floor just to feel more stability. But the idea is to relax your head, your neck, your shoulders, your upper back, really release it. So know that your legs are strong, some of the strongest muscles in your body, the legs and the glutes. So they will hold you. Others of you, I should have said, would perhaps like to hold opposite elbows. And then you can really feel a bit more weight as you come down. And so really let go. This is the part that takes the longest to get used to. It's absolutely okay if you're a bit rigid in it. But if you start one day, it will just feel like, oh yeah, that's how I let it go. And then it will feel like a completely different pose. If you want, just whilst we're warming into it, you can roll, kind of rock or sway from side to side. You can even check if your head is loose as you go yes and no. You'll know that your head and neck is completely relaxed. So now just hold. Not the easiest to hold because, like I say, it's strong in the legs, but relaxed in the upper body. So you've got yin and yang in the body at the same time, which in my eyes is a really important part of our practice, balancing yin to yang. So most of the long held stretches are all yin, but some like this have a bit of yang, which is really nice to feel. You can feel the energy. For me, I feel the energy running down the legs as I've been here quite a while. So that's signaling that it's time to come out. So when you're ready, release the hands down. You're going to slowly step your right foot back and then your left foot back. And you're in that downward dog again. You might want to walk it, so bending one knee at a time, or you might want that soft version where you just bend the knees. And then from there, after a couple of walks, just drop the knees down. So the next one again has a bit of yang and a bit of yin. So we're going to go into lizard. I don't know if we've done this for a while, so it would be great to do. So if you step your right foot on the outside of your right hand, have a little angle of that right knee, and the distance of that left knee going back is up to you. Those of you that feel a little bit, this is a very tight and uncomfortable pose, you will have that knee slightly underneath its hip, and that might make it a little bit easier. We're trying to prevent too much rounding of the back, so notice if that is your body. See if you can send your heart slightly forward. Now those of you with a bit more flexibility, you'll want to feel it even more so in that back hip flexor. So send that leg back to whatever angle feels achievable or able to hold. So in this Yin Yoga that we're practicing together, we talk about something called the edge. And the easiest way I found that it was described is that it's where we meet resistance. So where you feel there's almost a kind of wall, and that is where we want to stay. We want to find that wall, that edge, and hang out in it. Never go beyond. So a lot of the time when I was beginning my yoga practice, I was always pushing through that wall, and then you start to shake, and you're like, oh, I don't know why my leg is shaking. And then it took me a little while to learn to kind of meet that just before I went too far. So yeah, it's about learning it for our own bodies, and it will take time, so be patient. We've been here a little while, but I'm going to offer those that would like to go deeper to perhaps come onto a forearm. Now you may come down onto one. If you've got blocks or books, you can also bring that forearm onto a block or book. This knee is keeping in line at all times with the toes. And some of you may be able to get the forearm, the opposite forearm down, or maybe, like I say, onto a block or book. The in between block and book. God. Anyway, I would, see how you go with that. If that's too much, of course you can come up. You will lean slightly to one side if only forearm is down, one forearm is down, and that's okay. Just notice if you can lean slightly to the opposite side to bring a bit of balance. Anyway, you've been here a long time, so I'm going to bring you out. Again, I'm starting to get that feeling in the leg, like, yeah, now's the time. So, come up onto the hands if you were on your forearm, and then slowly start to straighten into that front leg. Take a few walks or a slide back. Now, before we go over to the other side, it's really good to take rest. So you can choose child's pose, which is kind of the opposite of a hip flexor stretch, as we're kind of, hip flexor extension. Now we're flexing that area, so that might feel good. Or you could just lie on your belly. Taking a few breaths just to release what you've just done. Kind of reset. In Yin Yoga it's called a rebound, so we let the body kind of rebound after all of that energy is created, stimulation around the joints, around the muscles and the bones. So now come up and think about the other side. So left foot on the outside of left hand, and those of you that need a little bit less in that hip flexor, knee under hip, and you can just work on easing that knee back to whatever degree, those of you that want a little bit more. Okay, and if you get knee pain or you have knee injuries, you can always pop a padding underneath like a blanket, or if you haven't got something like that, you can roll the mat. I find that's quite a handy trick because we've always got that there. Depends how thick your mats are as well. You can get really thick ones these days, which are amazing. Okay, and then we stay in this hand version, fists if you get wrist pain, with the forearms facing one another. So the stretch predominantly is this back hip flexor, but you've also got work going on in this front hip, generally on the outside, but also inside. So it's all encompassing hips. So it's yang in the fact that if you're on your arms, you're getting a lot of muscular contraction around your shoulders, around your back muscles. So that's okay. The yin part is once you gain the flexibility to come down onto the forearms, it does become a little bit more restful in the upper body, not that much though. Anyway, those of you that have come down that can come down onto one or two forearms, maybe now would be the time. And if it's not what you feel like the body wants to do today, then don't. Okay, so we did a small warm-up in the beginning, but it may still mean that the body isn't as warm as it needs to be. Just breathe to the sensations. It will be over soon. I'm going to couple this really strong stretch, and we're going to go into a really nice, maybe more yin, very gentle one. Okay, so to come into that, you're going to come up onto the hands, and then you're going to slide or walk or whatever you need, step that back knee back or your front knee back. If you took child's pose on the other side, we'll do it here just to bring symmetry. Just a few breaths. Deep breaths to the back. Already worked. Okay, so like I say, we're coming into a much more yin version, or yin stretch. So if you slowly come up, and again, I've packed away a lot of stuff, so I haven't got to demonstrate some blocks or books, but this one you might need them, or cushions. So for some of you, your knees will come down nice and gently, right? Or others of you, they'll be really high up. If that's the case, you can prop those books under whatever part of your thighs need that support, so they don't feel tired. But the feet come together and away from you, so that there's this symmetry in between the legs with a diamond shape. And then the hands just come on the outsides of the feet, and you sit up tall as you inhale. And as you exhale, the elbows just fall out to the side, so there's no force or pull in this pose, it's just gravity. So the head is just falling or drawing toward the ankles, toward the heels. The head is relaxing. If you are able to become quite close to the heels, you could bring a cushion or a blanket or some blocks or books and rest the head on there, and it would be a completely different pose. It makes it really restful, so you can relax your head, your neck, your shoulders completely. Notice, as I mentioned that, it made me think, notice your shoulders, notice if they are hunching up by the ears. Just awareness of them sometimes can bring softness. So just check in, relax the shoulders as much as you can. And just notice your breath. This one is a really simple posture, so the stretch is inner thighs and groin, also outer, and around the back body as you're taking that lovely rounding through the body. If you start to feel any tension or pain in the neck or anywhere else, just come out. As always, always enjoy the feeling. Okay, and that's about time to come up. So holding this one for a long period of time, it gives it the best benefits. Slowly lift head, heart, shoulders as you come up. Lift the torso, and then cut the hands under the knees, draw them together. Okay, so one nice yin posture into the next. Okay, just checking the time. haven't got my clock in here. Right, so we're going to do two options, half pigeon, but those that know pigeon, that want to go into it, you're welcome to do pigeon. So it'll be your right side first. Otherwise, I'll take you into half pigeon. So your left leg will bend at this kind of flexion, if that's okay and safe for your knee. If not, you could take the legs straight like that, and the right foot could come into the left thigh, right? Otherwise, if it's okay for the knee to bend it, flex the foot. That protects the knee joint being in that flexion. And then the right foot comes to the left thigh, just as you would do with the leg straight ahead of you. And this is basically the same as pigeon, but it's like a seated version. And you come first of all onto the hands. So therefore, sorry, I should have said this is therefore, that means the stretch will be the same, which is this outer hip and glute. So you come onto the hands. Next stage would be to then come down onto the forearms. That can be enough for some of you. Some of you may even want to bring the full head down. You could bring it onto the hands, like you would do in pigeon, or the floor. Those that want to feel it even more. Now, that has lifted my left buttock and glute. That's okay. The idea is to have them both grounded, but if it lifts a little, it's not a problem. The stretch is, like say, on that right outer hip and glute. Now, to feel it even more, so some of you may want a stronger stretch, you can walk your hands over to that left knee, just so your head is just above. So you're getting a little twist in the spine. You're also walking away from that hip, so you're bringing attention into it as well as you stretch that side of the body. So I find this one just as strong, if not stronger sometimes, as pigeon. So it's a lovely variation or modification, and it's easier to get to for beginners. So yeah, it's just an all-round good pose, because whether you've been practicing a long time or not, it's usually accessible and it's also very strong. So yeah, something for everyone. That's what I'm always trying to achieve. That's my aim in these classes, is to bring enough for all of you to feel something. But yeah, whether you've been practicing a long time or just recently, I'm noticing since lockdown there's so many new people beginning yoga, and it's such an exciting time for yoga, because that was what the East wanted for the West. They wanted us to learn yoga because they knew that we needed it. Isn't that amazing? I know from my training from Shivananda, that was their intention, to set up ashrams all over the world to bring yoga to the West, which is just incredible. They knew we needed it, and that was in the 60s from Shivananda, or perhaps slightly earlier. So yeah, and now the message is getting stronger and stronger, and it's growing even bigger, which amazing. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. If you could come up when you're ready from either your pigeon, those of you in pigeon, or this version. So if you walked over to the left knee, you can come back to center, come back onto the hands and walk yourself up slowly. In these long held poses, you always want to come up slowly. Now, I lean back to straighten the legs. I find that so much nicer, but take your time. It will feel strong. They were both in a flexion for quite a while, so give them a tap, a loving tap, and then we'll do the same on the other side. So you would lean to your left as you bend your right knee. Flex that right foot. If you're taking this version, what is that? It's your left foot into your right thigh, and both sit bones grounded, hands on the floor. Maybe one sit bone will lift slightly, and then come down and onto the forearms. If you're okay there, stay there. If you want to go further, make a pillow, rest the head on the hands or the floor, and just breathe there. Oh, and there's that option to walk over to the right knee and left foot. Feel that even stronger. Those of you in your pigeon, enjoy this lovely stretch. Again, we'll hold it for as long, so I think we're up to about 2.5 minutes. It's a good enough time on this wonderful stretch. So whenever you're stretching the glutes, you can know that you're doing a really good job for your lower back, because everything connects to the legs and the back through the bum. Lots of insertions around there, so it is a great stretch to do for the lower back. It gets very tight in our lifestyle, in our weather, in our chairs, and our exercise, so running can shorten these muscles around the bum. Great. So we're about there, so think about coming out of it slowly. Walk on over to centre, coming up onto the hands and walking yourself slowly up as you sit up, and then lean back. So you take the legs to a straight position, give them a tap up and down, and just release the knee joint especially. Okay, so I'm just going to check that we have enough time. Yeah, so a good thing to do in the morning would be back bends. So we're going to come down and do back bends. Even if it's the evening, it's still a good thing to do. Energizes the body, because the spine is obviously very, is part of our wake up. It's part of our whole system, really. So let's come into the resting pose, because we haven't done one yet. So bring the big toes to touch, the heels to the side, rest on the forehead or a cheek, whatever you feel more comfortable to rest on. And just breathe. This should really relax all of your muscles. There shouldn't be any muscles apart from maybe something around the arms in this flexion, but enjoy that feeling of relaxation to the muscles. Okay, so about a minute there, we're about there. So now let's come into our Sphinx pose. So because we're practicing Yin, so it's a bit more on the gentler side. If you open your legs out to about mat distance, so nice and wide, it helps give a good base for your spine. And then there's two options. Those of you with a sensitive back, you would have your palms together, forearms away from the body. And so you're in this lower back arch, but it's much smaller and gentler. And those of you that can go to that deeper version, the elbows are underneath the shoulders, forearms parallel, and you want to open your heart center. So it is a little bit active around the lower spine, but it should be a place you could hold for about a minute, which is what we're going to do. So open the heart, send your shoulder blades back towards one another, shoulder heads back, so you can really open across your chest, and your gaze is forward. Crown of the head up to the sky, and just breathe here. We'll do a minute, but for the last few breaths, deep breaths, so slow breaths. You can choose to go into a maybe stronger version. Those that know you've got no sensitivities in your lower back. You can come up onto the hands, so the forearms lift away. There's still a little bend in the elbows. You're going to feel this really strongly in your lumbar and sacrum. If it's too much, just come back down onto the forearms as if nothing happened. Otherwise, just take 2 more really deep breaths here. Heart forward, shoulders back. Oh, and pelvis releasing down. Belly lightly engaged. That will always protect your back. Contracting your glutes and your belly. And then release the elbows down, making a pillow as you rest. Big toes touch, heels to the side. Rest on forehead or the opposite cheek for about a minute or half a minute, because we're going to do another back bend. Breathe into the area that you felt work was done. Okay, so the next one is a supported locust pose. So locust pose, we want to bring, in fact for this one, if you bring your hands underneath your shoulders and your forehead down, we're going to come up onto, you're going to, bend your right knee and lift your left leg and bring your left leg on top of your right knee. And if you can, bring your chin onto the floor and look forward. So you're going to feel a strong stretch here, but you're going to feel a support with that leg. If it's too high on your shin, on your knee, then you can bring the foot to the shin, and it comes into a much lower, as low down as you need, right? So as high up if you want to feel a lot stronger in your back bend, and low down for a little gentler. We're not going to hold it for too long. This one's a little bit more active. And then release, so by lifting the left leg and releasing both legs down. You might want to shake the hips out. We're going to do the other side. Maybe bring your chin forward first, sorry, I should have said. And then you'll bend your left knee. And bring your right leg either high up on that foot, so foot to thigh or foot to kneecap if it's gentle, or low down to the shin, depending on what kind of feeling you want to feel, what kind of stretch. So yeah, we're kind of assisting our back bend here with that support. Breathe. If it's good, enjoy. If there's pain, release always. And then to release, lift the right leg as you release both legs down. We're going to want to come into a child's pose, but very slowly now. So inhale, come up through cobra. Exhale, bring the belly in toward the spine. Slowly start to press your hips back to your heels. Forehead down to the earth, and yeah, just let that go. The arms could come alongside the body or be in front of you. Lots of variations of your child's pose. And at least a minute here just to rebound. That was a strong, strong back bend. Hence why we didn't hold it as long. But then, as I say, very energizing, so great to do in the morning. breathe into the lower back and spine area to release what we worked. Last 2 deep breaths. Okay, and then we'll come up slowly, as always. So come up onto the hands as you lift the torso. Just going to check the time on board. Okay, great. So we're going to do a twist before we come down onto your backs. So thread the needle. This is a lovely twist, but it will feel strong on the shoulder that you're resting on. If you worry about your shoulder, your head or your neck, you can bring a cushion or a blanket and rest on there. Those that know what we're doing, thread the needle. So the right arm will thread through first. In fact, if I mirror you, this might look better this from this angle. Right arm threads through to the left as you bend the left elbow. And then you could possibly be able to come onto the head, side of the head, and the shoulder looking to the left. Or you will bring a cushion, a block, or whatever you need and place that as support there. Some of you will just we're making this so we can hold it, right? So you want to make sure you're resting. If you haven't got anything around you, but you're not resting on the shoulder and the head, then just come out of it earlier. You don't have to hold it as long. And you can either have the left hand here, or you can bring it behind the spine. So if you can grab that right thigh behind you, and then just breathe. We'll be here for about a minute. So you will feel a nice good twist after that. These moments of silence, you can really just take the time to explore how does your body feel here. Where do you feel the twist? Where do you feel the energy? Where do you feel movement? Where do you feel stagnation? Okay, and then release. So release that left hand back down. You will use that. As you press into the hand, you can slide your way all the way back. And then go over very slowly to the other side. Left arm threads through to the right. Perhaps you'll come onto the shoulder, perhaps not. Side of the head. If not, use cushion, blocks, blankets, whatever you've got to support yourself. And this right hand can stay here, or bring it behind the back, perhaps to your left thigh. Brings a bit more weight onto that right left shoulder. And just breathe on this side for about a minute, exploring how you feel. Releasing your right hand down and using that to roll yourself up. Amazing. So we're ready to come down onto our backs. So if you slowly come to sitting, kneeling, and then send out your legs to one side, and then you're going to find yourself on your feet with your knees up, and just giving yourself a little hug. You can make this into your core if you want to feel your core and just engage a little there as you kind of try and lean back, holding your shins or your thighs. And then from there, we're going to slowly release the legs and take ourselves all the way back onto our backs. Amazing. And then The next part will be much more yin, so much more restful. First of all, if you bring your feet wide and knees together, this is called TP. The arms just come out to the sides, wherever feels good, and just feel the knees fall into each other. Feel the hips just completely relax, and the glutes and the belly and the whole back releases. This is a really very subtle but very powerful pose. Because of the release that it brings in the body. So enjoy that. For about a minute before we go into our next pose. Okay. Alright, so then from there we're going to come up and into a bridge. Now, I'm really sorry I didn't say at the beginning about having blocks or books around you, but if you do, or cushions, if you do, that would be great for this one because you can do a supported bridge. If you don't have anything, you can do the stronger version, that's absolutely fine. Just hold it for as long as you can and come down when you need. I don't have support, so I'm going to pretend it's there. But your feet are underneath your knees, your arms are alongside the body. You're going to inhale, lift your hips, lift your buttocks away from the floor, pressing your thighs up. If you've got blocks or books or something, you rest them under this kind of just at the top of the bum, the sacrum area. And if you can rest the block or book on any angle, so it could be at the flattest angle, maybe tilted slightly higher or all the way up, but it's resting on that part, on that last little bony part before you get to your bum. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, if you don't have it, a nice option is to hold the outsides of the mat, and that might give you a little help as you press your thighs up and you kind of squeeze the mat in, and it brings your chest a little bit higher. You won't be able to hold this one as long, it's a little bit more active, but it's there if you don't have the support around you. Just breathe. Okay, for those of you supported, you may wish to stay a little. Otherwise, you would release your arms out, slowly roll down to the back. Flattening the back into the floor. And then bringing your feet wide once again and allowing the knees to fall into each other and just take that TP knees again. Allow your hips and your buttocks, your belly, thighs to relax. Okay. And then from here we'll go into Happy Baby, which looks different for everybody. So for everybody, the legs, the knees will be bent and the shins are trying to be parallel to the wall in front of them, and then you flex the feet. Some of you may be able to reach the outsides of the feet, which is great, at the same time keeping the back flat. Others of you, if not, if you're miles away, just take the outsides of the legs instead, and just either way, just feel like you're pressing down. So the knees are bending deeply, the shins are still parallel to the wall, and the back is really pressing down to the earth. The buttocks and the hips may lift, but the back is pressing down. And those of you that know it and that like movement, you can rock from side to side. That might mean falling to one side and staying there. Or just stillness is good. But either way, just feel that kind of nice, strong sensation around your hip flexor, the thigh, your bum, your glutes. And then at the same time, that release into the back. I don't know what you say that. Yeah, okay. And then from there, we're going to come into our final stretch before we take rest, which would be a spinal twist. So you want to bend the knees in towards your chest, give yourself a hug. So if you can reach the shins, great. If not, if you're miles away, that's fine. The knees are coming in as close as they can. And first, just rest the sacrum and the lumbar. You can rock from side to side, you can make circles, bringing the knees in and then out, both directions, so changing side. Great, and then into the spinal twist. Arms out to a T, shoulder height, arms down, inhale. Exhale, knees to the right. As you gaze to the left, you may get a click. This is a nice opportunity for that. The knees may or may not come down to the floor. If they do, great. If not, don't worry. You'll just use a little bit of core stability to hold you there. But most important is that you're pressing your shoulders blades down, and that keeps a nice alignment into the shoulder blades. And the twist comes from there down. The gaze would either be up or over to the opposite hand, your left hand. Just breathe into the belly. This is a lovely one, as it feels very restful. You can almost sleep there, maybe sometimes. But to come out, look up, bring the knees up, find neutral spine before you go over to the other side. So knees to the left, gaze to the right, or straight up, and enjoy whatever you feel here on this side, different to on the right. Okay, and then look up to center before you bring those knees back to center. One last hug and squeeze and maybe rock from side to side before you choose a resting position. So it could be teepee knees that we did before, or traditional Shavasana, legs and arms away from the body, palms facing up, feet falling out to the sides. So you'll take that position that you've chosen, or that feels good for your body, and being there and letting everything go. So we did the same thing in the beginning, where we checked in physically and emotionally, mentally. We'll do the same check, and awareness of your physical. So start with physical. Notice if there's any areas of the body that still need to be let go of. There may be parts of your body that will not let go, that will be contracted and tense and tight. Long-term injuries, or just the body has its ways, but relaxing every part of you that you can. And if you can't, then find a position that feels more comfortable, that you can release everything. So check in any tension, any parts of you that feel free and loose and energized, any areas of the body feeling warm, and perhaps any areas of the body feeling cold. Just noticing all that you do without trying to change it, trying to judge or run away from it. And then notice into the parts of the body that connect, so feeling the weight, perhaps the bony parts that connect to the earth. How does it feel, the pressure there? Can you soften and release any more into those connection points? And with the eyes to a close or to a gentle squint, just allow relaxation wash over your body. And as we let go of the muscles in the body, we'll also let go of controlling your breath. So as you get used to your yoga practice, the breath becomes really easy to manipulate, to breathe deeper and fuller throughout the practice. And this is a wonderful tool, but also just as beneficial is to let the breath be in its natural way or form, and watch it. Notice how your breath is naturally without that control. It might be shallower. You may find that it's quite shallow, and that's okay. It might not move the belly as much as when you practice that deep breath. And that's okay. Just notice it in its natural state, in its natural way. And then once you notice your body, relaxed your breath, then all we are trying to achieve is to become this silent observer. So you're just waiting for something to arise, whether it be a thought, a sensation, some kind of visual. For those of you visual, some people see lights, colours, all of that. Just bring it to your awareness when it comes up, and don't be too attached to it or try and run away from it or change it. Just notice it. And if it be a thought, then just notice it as it comes up, and just the action of that should make it disappear. If you notice the thought as it comes up, it has no energy to continue. And now we're going to think about coming out of relaxation. Starting to deepen the breath, starting to move fingers and toes. Keeping the eyes closed so you can stay within, just deepen the breath. And then take a full body stretch, so feet together, arms overhead. Interlace the fingers and press away the palms from the feet. And then release the arms down. Give yourself a hug again. Hug and squeeze. And then roll over onto your right side and just rest there. Few deep breaths. And then come up very slowly. Press up. Find a seated position, perhaps the one you started in. Just take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, bring your hands at your heart. Taking a moment to feel any gratitude you have for yourself, so your body, your breath, your discipline, your practice, and then anything else you want to send that gratitude out for today. And then exhaling, bow the head to the hands and the heart and your gratitude. Namaste. And lift the head and heart, keep your eyes closed, rub your hands together. And then cup the hands over your eyes as you breathe in. Releasing the hands down slowly, maybe a face massage. So thank you all. I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, that's a strange light. Any questions, as always, just let me know. All right, all the best. Bye-bye.